Hi everyone, welcome back to our last video in Fusion 360. This is the point where we need to take all of our plywood pieces and we're going to break them apart, flatten them out, so that we can create an outline of all the cuts the laser has to make. The laser cannot figure out how to make this when it's all assembled like this. It's just too much effort for it. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is close out our data panel so we have some room to work with. We're going to turn off our 3D printed parts. So we're going to hide them, and that'll make our computer work a little better so it's not so many parts to have to model on the screen. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to open our plywood folder. We don't want to get rid of all of these assembled parts, because then if we made a mistake and need to fix something, we're going to have a real problem trying to make that happen. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to highlight, click on the first plywood part, and then hold down the Shift key and click on the last one. And then we're going to use the M key on the keyboard to open up the Move Copy command. Down at the bottom here, we're going to say Create a Copy. And then we're going to click on the front view of our model, zoom out a bunch, move the model over to the left, and then we're going to drag the new copy of plywood pieces way over here to the right somewhere. And then we're going to click OK. And you can notice we just create a whole nother set of these. So what I can do is I can hide the plywood ones, and I'm going to right click on the bodies and create a new group. And this one, I'm going to call this Flattened, because we're going to get ready to flatten all these pieces. So I'm going to take all of these parts, so Shift, click on the first one, hold down Shift, click on the last one, let go of Shift, and then drag all of these up into the Flattened folder. And when I turn them off, everything disappears. Now what I'm going to do is hit the Home button to re-zoom in and recenter on this second set of plywood pieces. And now I'm going to start aligning them to each other. So to do that, I'm going to use the Align key. If you can't find it up here, you can go Modify and Align right down here. It's also the Shift 9, like the parentheses, starting parenthesis key. All right. Well, maybe that's not true. Actually, I think I did that on my own. Maybe yours doesn't do that. So I'm going to hit the Align button here, and I'm going to click on the outside face. This part's really important. I do not want to be on any of these other little special points on it. I want to be out here in some random clear space. Avoid all these corners. Otherwise, weird things happen with the Align. So I'm going to tell the computer and say, hey, take this face, this outside face, and align it with the base right here. And what it does is it flattens it out and lines it up evenly. And I'm going to say, OK. Notice how some of it's overlapping it. That doesn't matter for now. We just need to, it doesn't matter. We'll move it around later. OK. Now, the up face is the face that's going to always be seen by people the most. That's the face that we're going to decorate and do stuff with. So in this case, no one's going to ever see this inside face of this panel. So I'm going to flip it over actually, and I'm going to do the alignment from this inside face over here. And I'm going to click there, and then again I'm going to click on this base panel, and I'm going to say OK. And now I'm going to do the same thing. Align, I'm going to align this outside face here, again avoiding all these little white dots. I don't want that. And then I'm going to line it up with the base panel here. OK. Flip it over. I'm going to align this inside panel anywhere on here except those special points. Don't want those. And then to this piece and click OK. I'm going to do the same thing for, don't forget that thing underneath there. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to actually engrave the front of this because I think it might be cool looking under it and seeing it. I don't know, maybe you can't. I'm going to do Align, and then I'm going to click on this face, somewhere in the middle of the plywood, and then somewhere up here on that. Okay. And then the last one I'm going to do is this one here. Although the brain will be covering this one. I don't know. I'm going to do this one here. Align. Click somewhere on here. And then somewhere up there's the base on there. Okay. So just look around real quick. Yep. It's all right. Now, when you look from the side, if some of your pieces are a little higher or lower than the others, that's not a big deal. Don't worry about that. We're not going to have to, it won't affect anything from this point on. All right, I'm going to hit back to the Home button, And then I'm going to click on the top view. So I'm looking directly at the top view. And for me, I'm going to rotate it because I like the view from here better. Now we need to move the parts so they're not overlapping each other, because the laser also can't cut this. It would be a complete mess. So I'm going to use M for move. I'm going to click on the part here somewhere, and I'm just going to drag it straight to the side. So these two arrows allow you to drag vertically, whoops, or horizontally. I can also grab this square and move them around randomly and put them right where I want them. So that's kind of fun, convenient to do. I can also grab this and rotate them if I want to. So I don't need to do any of that. I'm going to leave it right like that. And then just as long as they're not overlapping, I'm good. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm just going to repeat that for every part. So move, I'm going to grab. See how I had this one? I don't want to grab it here because it's going to be hard. Well, I could do it here. Like if I did this, I could just grab it this way and move it this way. Okay. M for move, I'm going to take this one out of the way next. Okay, M, this one next. Okay, and then M, I'm going to try and grab, well, it wants to take the base, so I'm just going to move the base out of the way. It doesn't really matter which one you move, and click OK. So those are all my parts. At this point, I don't need to try and make them close together or anything. We'll deal with that later when we go to make the actual cuts. Now what we need to do is we need to create a sketch with all of these shapes of all the parts on it. To do that, we're going to use an offset plane. We're going to come up here and construct offset plane. And we're going to create that plane on the base's face. And we're going to click OK. Now we're going to create a sketch. And this is going to be the sketch with all the lines on it. So I'm going to create a sketch on the plane, not on the base itself, but on the plane that we just created. And now I'm going to use P for project. I'm going to make sure my projection says body because I want to capture all of the aspects of that body. And if I hover over something, notice what it's doing. It's showing what it's going to draw. It's going to draw a shape around every little piece of that. So there's the one. I need to click on all my parts. And this is just transferring those lines onto the parts that the laser is going to follow. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to turn off my flattened pieces just to make sure, yep, there they are. So those are all the pieces that's going to, all the lines I'm going to need for the next part. Awesome. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click Finish Sketch because that's all done. I'm going to open up my sketch folder. We haven't done much with sketch folders yet. These are all the sketches we've created throughout this process. There's a lot of them. You might have more because you may have accidentally created some extra sketches in there. That's not an issue. So sketch 23 is the sketch we just made here. So I'm going to actually double click on that. Oops, it opened it up for me. I'm going to double click on it. There we go. Now I got it. And I'm going to call this cut lines. That way if I need it later, I know where to find it. Now, I need to export this file as a file called a DXF file. That's the kind of file we need for the next process. A DXF file is a file that has all just lines and stuff on it. So I'm going to right click on the cut line. Actually, I'm going to do Finish Sketch first. Now I'm going to right click on the cut lines. I'm going to do Save as DXF. That'll bring up a Save dialog box. I need to save this in a particular place. What I want you to do is you're going to find on here, somewhere on here, is a thumb drive called ENR and then a number and a letter that corresponds to what computer you're in. So if you're at computer 7B, it'd be ENR 7B. You're going to find that one. Me, I'm going to just use something, let's see. I'm going to pretend like this is my ENR folder, my downloads folder. I'm going to create a new folder inside that ENR 7A and call this your name. I'm going to say Josh Haza would be my name. Click and open that folder, and now we're going to say this is the plywood panel, plywood panels, and then hit save. So what it just did is it took that all of these lines and shapes and it saved it onto a file called plywood panels. We'll open up in a new program in the next video and learn how to send that to the laser. We are one step away. Well, we're a couple steps away from sending to the laser, if I'm being honest. All right. Now that this sketch, I don't need this sketch anymore, so I'm going to hide this sketch. I'm going to close my sketch folder back up, and I'm going to turn on my plywood pieces and my 3D printed pieces. I'm going to leave the flattened ones off, and then I'm going to hit the home button to zoom in again, and I'm ready to save. Control S saves. Okay. And that is it for Fusion, unless we make a mistake, and then we'll have to come back to Fusion, fix it, and then resend everything. But hopefully we didn't make any mistakes. Fingers crossed. Good job on everything, everyone. Can't wait to see your robots come to life.